Hey friends, welcome to Woman Owned Wallet, the podcast. I'm your host, Amanda a serial entrepreneur who has already made all of the money mistakes, so you don't have to. Now I'm working on my money mindset, expanding my companies, and having open conversations with women around a subject that shouldn't be so taboo, money. My company, Woman Owned Wallet, and I are determined to help you foster a more positive relationship with your wallet and help you create a life that makes you say, wow. Hello, and welcome back to the Woman Owned Wallet podcast. Amanda here. I'm so happy you guys are back again and listening and tuning in because I have Madison here who I literally talk to probably more than anyone else that we've ever interviewed because she is my graphic designer and I'm obsessed with her. So thank you, Madison, for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you. And I think it's going to be a really interesting story that we kind of get into and uncover. But I do love to start out with how I met everybody that we're featuring on the podcast. So do you want to tell them about how we threw axes and drank beers?
Yeah, so I can't remember when that was. When was that?
I know. It feels like a long time ago. It's probably a year ago, maybe.
Maybe spring going into summer of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had met Jen. We all know Jen. Love Jen from Neat Marketing, Doggy Issues.
Yeah, I don't even know if she had doggy issues when we interviewed her for the podcast last season.
So I think that we had
development.
Yeah, I think we had actually, me and her had just met for coffee not too long before you and I met.
Mm-hmm.
We were just going to go meet for coffee because we both live in Louisville and had only ever chatted with each other on Instagram. We planned to go get coffee and she was like, would you hate me if I proposed a business idea to you? And I was like, no, please, I need money.
Love me some business ideas. Let's go.
Yeah. So we met for coffee and then I think we talked about doggy issues. And then she told me about this idea she had for a meetup for other entrepreneurs in Louisville to go throw axes. And I was like, heck yeah, I'll do that. I'm terrible at it, but I'll give it a try. And so,
for somebody who's terrible at every other sport, me, I'm actually pretty good at throwing axes at a target.
Yeah.
Watch out, boys.
Watch out. Be careful.
Everybody watch out for Amanda.
I did better at it the time that we went than the first time I went. The first time I hit it one time and it was purely an accident. But when we went for that meetup, I was actually able to hit it purposefully, which was good.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. So
Jen set up this great networking event and told you about it?
Yeah. So then I show up and I was like, oh, it's cute. There's going to be other women there. We all dress for the woman's gaze and not the man's gaze.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I want to be cute. And I think it was warm because I wore sandals and I just wasn't thinking.
Oh, you're right. I did too. I forgot that when you throw axes, you have to wear closed-toed shoes and they make me put on some Crocs.
Yeah. So the employee had me sign sign my life away. I paid for it. And she was like, oh, are you wearing sandals? And I said, well, yeah, it's warm outside.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I'm going to give you these Crocs. And I was like, really, I'm fine with Crocs. I don't want to wear
someone else's smelly feet and 10,000 people's.
Yeah. And I feel like if any shoe were to be just really gross after another person wore them, it would be Crocs.
It's so true. And I wore them too.
Yeah. So I was in
what I got to do.
I was in my cute outfit in these 3 sizes too big navy blue Crocs. And we met there. There were quite a few other, I don't know, maybe a handful of other women there that I hadn't met
10
before.
10 people or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really fun. Yeah. So we met there and at the end of it, everybody was getting ready to leave. And you said, hey, I want to ask you a question. I need someone to help me with my website. And I was like, okay, that could be me.
That could be you.
That could be me.
I hire people on a vibe.
Yeah.
So, I'm just you know what? If you can throw axes with me and we're good and we didn't throw them at each other. So that's great.
Yeah.
I feel every time it's just a feeling I can get with people around when I know that I want to work with them in whatever capacity. And so I had that vibe with you. And I also had it with Leah, who's my trainer.
Yes.
And so, Jen has really opened up a lot of new people to my life because I've had a lot of women in the past, when we hosted our own events. But I do love to go to other people's networking events. And we also have a friend named Lexi, who's hosted multiple events now. And I feel anytime you go to another networking event from another, successful, powerful, beautiful, amazing woman. Like she always surrounds herself with such cool people. And now I follow all of those people. And I think some of them might have just hired you as well. So like, it's just a great world.
It is. And that was obviously one of the great things about a networking event that made me want to go, because I was still very, very new in my business journey. And since I had already met Jen and me and her vibed well together, I was like, well, she's doing great. She obviously knows a lot of people in Louisville, so it'll be great to at least just meet new faces, if nothing, just to have more business friends.
Absolutely. And what's great about Jen is that before I went to the event, she had told me other people that were coming. So I got to look. It's like when you go to a restaurant, but you want to look at the menu first.
Right.
It was a little bit like that, where I'm like, oh no, I know that I need to talk to her. I was like, there was a photographer I wanted to chat with. I knew that I was interested in working, on my physical fitness. And I was like, okay, I got to talk to Leah. Like, I just knew it gave me like a little bit of, a preview.
Yeah.
And like, I already knew that I'd looked at your stuff and been like, okay, she gets it. So even from just knowing, like, because Jen and I did know each other when she was starting Doggy Issues, because she and I were trading like information. Like we kind of made our own little mini mastermind, which was great because we would like meet up once every other week. And she would give me an hour of her time. I would give her an hour of my time. I was working on the podcast and getting started with more e-commerce and more just like general marketing, but like in the online space and e-com space. And that was just new to me. And she was getting started in like the product development space. And I obviously have had a fashion line for over 7 years now.
Yeah.
Yay.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I mean, 7 feels different than 6 and it feels different than 5. Like, it's that.
I can see that.
It feels old. It feels, seasoned. I like it.
Yeah.
So I had already like checked it out and I was like, oh, like I love that she was open and I was open enough to be able to be like, you know what, we don't necessarily want to pay each other. We want to trade information and we know that we will both show up, because trading anything is difficult.
A bit of a risk.
It's so risky. And I've had so many people not come through with the trade, or just, stuff changes. And maybe I didn't come through with one that I'm not remembering, but like, there's definitely ones that it's a big risk.
Yeah. And I think it's a great relationship to have. And it's one that I don't think a lot of people talk about.
I agree.
But her and I have traded services before and it's worked out very well. I think it was helpful that her and I had a good relationship anyway. But since that, I've traded services with some other women and it's been great. But yeah, she's been a great person to know and has at least sent me, 20 referrals. They haven't all necessarily worked out, but I think anytime she has the chance to give success to somebody else, she's very willing to do so. And I'm very thankful that I have her in my corner in this journey.
Absolutely. And I mean, literally, you're the reason why I have my new CPA, because you and I are both women that if we can spread the good word of these other amazing like women-owned businesses that we love, like we will immediately do that. Yeah. And I think when you meet somebody like Jen, or like when we met each other, you click faster with those people that are open and honest and aren't gatekeeping and like are just really able to, come to the table with as much as you come to the table with. Yeah. And surrounding yourself with that like kind of woman is life-changing.
Yeah. Me and Jen talk pretty frequently about how one of our other like business friends has hired both Jen and I, and her, Tracy, she's great. Yeah. And
I'm part of her community now too.
Yeah.
Tracy, it's all for like makers and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, girl, that's me.
Yeah. Tracy one time was like, I'm joining your cult. And I was like, it kind of feels a little bit like a cult without it really being a cult. But we all are...
you're allowed to leave if you want.
I won't keep you here against your will. But we've kind of become not just Jen and I, but people in this community. And it must be an Instagram algorithm type situation, but we've all kind of become this little network and kind of like an agency without it being a formal agency. Like we all refer other people to each other. And yeah, it's been awesome.
It's kind of cool that we do that because like that's the most grassroots kind of marketing you can ever think of as a referral. Yeah. If you've done, and just like the whole idea of like, you've done a great job, and what people say about you in the rooms that you aren't in is so incredibly important. And when you're like open and honest and like ready to like do this great job, and you've done this great job for somebody, they will tell other people about you.
Right.
When you've helped like someone feel amazing and someone feel, powerful, or someone you feel that they couldn't get something done, but then you help them to like accomplish that. Like literally, I've been at these network events and I've said 10,000 times I was like, hire Madison, hire her today. I'm telling all of you as well, hire Madison.
Hire me.
She literally, I feel like, has taken my business, my website, like to levels that I could not have gotten it by myself. And I'm so grateful that we've met, because I feel like we've been able to also give business advice like to each other.
Yeah.
Like we haven't gatekept from each other or anything like that too. So it's just been what a good relationship.
So good.
So far, you know, a year in-ish or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember wearing those sandals that day too, so it must have been warm.
Yeah, you were in a skirt, like a skirt too. And I was like, wow, at least I'm not in a skirt trying to throw axes.
Hey, and I was good. Yeah. I was good in a skirt and some Crocs throwing axes. But I was like very much starting my like art teacher aesthetic.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that was one of the first days that I was like, I'm wearing this like support women, shirt over this like maxi skirt. And these cute earrings that I had that were made by another woman that I was just like, I'm just living my dream, living my best life in this outfit.
You were wearing your brand that day, for sure.
I really was dressing the WOW brand for sure.
It's become a lifestyle.
It is. And now, look, today you're wearing Lucy and Yak.
Yep.
And if you look at our Instagram, you see me in this like pink jumpsuit. It's literally my favorite thing ever. And it's Lucy and Yak. And now I bought everybody on the team for some of our photo shoots, some of their stuff. And you and I very much have like that ideal of like, how can I start to dress for the female gaze more than the male gaze? And I do really believe these dungarees have helped me like craft that look like a lot more than any other item of clothing I've ever had.
Yeah, the first two were the ones that you got for us. And it's, a plain pink pair. And then mine are like a dark teal type corduroy. And I thought those were risky. And then I saw these floral ones that I'm currently wearing. And I was like, oh, those are risky, but I like it. And yeah, I've definitely embraced my bold, colorful brand. And we're just living the dream.
We are. And I think the more bold and colorful I see you get, the more bold and colorful I'm willing to get, and probably vice versa. And it's just like, let's go. Let's get so bold and so colorful.
We'll be fashionistas.
Total fashionistas, as I'm wearing a white top and black leggings.
You can't wear them all every single day.
I do own 2 companies, so sometimes my aesthetic's one. I literally have like minimalist, black wardrobe for the new black. And then I have this like louder than life, like WOW outfits. And I just go between the two, and I never know which one I'm going to wake up feeling like. And both are great.
Well, for the most part, I'm normally in sweatpants and the t-shirt I wore to bed. So this is...
You leveled up.
Yeah. And I have entrepreneurship to thank for that.
You do. You do. And I mean, it's so exciting because when we met, you had a full-time job.
I did.
So like, talk us through that a little bit, because I know when we met, I was like, I need this done yesterday. And you're like, oh, I can't really do it yesterday.
I know. I kind of turned you down.
You did. Yeah.
I did. I actually did.
Yeah, you did turn me down. And it totally made sense and I respected it. But I was like, one day this is going to come back around. And it was only a couple months later, I would say, that we were both at the same place where I was like, girl, I got this fat loan. Let's go. And I want to like hire you. And you're like, you know what? I thought I would wait to leave my job for a little while longer, but I might be ready. Like, how did you come to that like moment of feeling ready to finally leave?
So I was previously a speech therapist. And as I'm sure many people know and have definitely come to realize more recently, is that healthcare is in turmoil in more ways than one. And so I worked as a speech therapist for 4 years, and it definitely, it had its place in my life. And I met so many great people and had great relationships with my clients and things like that. But in the first year of the pandemic, I saw all these people working from home and hanging out with their dogs all day. And I was like, I will never, currently in my current job, I'm never going to be able to do that. That's not something that I can see being feasible for me as a speech therapist, especially in a hospital, because my patients are at the hospital. And so I was just trying to kind of find ways to make more money on the side. Like I just thought I wanted a side hustle, and I've always kind of wanted to start a company, wasn't ever sure what that would look like. I kind of thought maybe it would be a boutique or products of some sort, but just never felt super passionate about anything. And so when I was trying to find ways to make more money, I came across graphic design and brand design and things that I all knew were, I obviously knew those things existed, but I just didn't ever think that that was something that I would be interested in or is something that could have been realistic for me as a career. And once I started playing around with Adobe programs and started kind of practicing just graphic design in general, I started to learn more about it. And I really enjoyed learning about it and learning more about how branding can really make or break a company.
Yeah, it's so impactful.
Yeah. And you don't really necessarily think about it as a consumer. You're just like, oh, Target. Yeah, that's where I'm going to go for everything. But you don't think about how much a company has put into their brand until you learn about that industry. I was working as a speech therapist and took on some small family friends for clients and started meeting more people like Jen and coming more into a community on Instagram, which kind of, in my mind sounds a little silly, but I really think that the power of social media is what really helped me push through my business being a side hustle to bringing it full time.
Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. And especially we're discussing this in a time when there was the pandemic going on full force. No one was vaccinated and stuff quite yet.
Right.
Through your time, obviously, we've gotten past that. But it's definitely interesting that, it's feels a little silly, a little shameful is not really the right. It's not that far for me, but it definitely feels a little almost embarrassing because, a lot of the times when we've heard about business in the past, it's LinkedIn and of course, LinkedIn is important.
Sure.
But I would say in more traditional businesses that maybe operate less on creativity and visuals, and more on, on copywriting or on, tactful construction or something like that. Maybe, in those industries, you wouldn't say, I found this client on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or I felt inspired by what they were doing. So I reached out. That happens, I think, more often in creative ones. And usually I feel weird saying that to someone who's not in a creative field.
Yeah.
But to you, I'd be like, girl, I saw her on Instagram and I love her.
Well, it's kind of like when I technically met my boyfriend on Bumble, but I rarely ever told anybody that we met on Bumble because it's oh, you're on a dating app.
But isn't
silly.
Everyone?
Yeah. But now it's way, way normalized.
Yeah. It's so common. And the majority of stories that I hear of, newer love, that's not 15 years old like mine. Mine's so fucking old. And we've known each other almost 20 years. Mine's way more rare, at this point in life, which in one point it was just so incredibly traditional. That's who you married, was the person that you knew and from your hometown and all that stuff. And it definitely worked out for me. I've talked about him multiple times on the podcast and how much I love him. But it's definitely interesting because the new love and everything, it is on those apps. And it does feel weird to say that, but business is done online. And so our relationships are built online.
Yeah.
And the world changed, from a time of we can remember not having a cell phone and not being allowed to. I can remember when Pinterest started, I was one of the first people on Pinterest. I had to be invited and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think I did too.
It was a really interesting time to when you had to have a college email. I had a college email to get on Facebook. That's how old I am. I remember when there wasn't Instagram, all of that. So I think because we're this transitional millennial, it feels more weird to still say that because it's almost maybe as a Gen Z, it's totally normal because they don't have a experience outside of that. So that's totally normalized for them. And as, a Gen X or Boomer or something, telling my parents that kind of stuff, it's so hard for them to understand. But I'm well, things have changed and most of it is online. And since I've been alive, the internet was invented. Or became what it is.
Right. So
it's just it is weird to say those things, especially as you're speaking to people outside of creative industry. So I totally understand why you'd be it's weird to be oh, I met them on Instagram. But at the end of the day, wherever you meet someone, that's not where you end your relationship.
Yeah.
Usually, you can definitely, I have lots of Instagram and TikTok
me too.
baddies that are just my biggest supporters that I've never met. And I hope to one day, but maybe not. But it's just one of those things that's it feels shameful because traditional business or the ways we were taught business is done is not through social media. But almost all of it is now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to have this conversation with my boyfriend and his friend one time about how what we know about careers and college and all that stuff is going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already kind of started to see that. And I definitely started noticing it around the time I started my business because my eyes just became so much more open to the way things could be done. And why am I in a windowless office 40 hours a week?
Yeah.
Making, I guess by, America's standards, like decent money, but it wasn't great. And it just wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. And so I was trying.
And it was capped.
Yeah.
You knew how much you were going to make for forever.
Yeah.
If you stayed.
And even if I wanted to I was going to have to change industries at some point, or I was going to have to switch gears at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was searching for corporate jobs and I was like, these all sound terrible.
Yeah.
I don't want to do these, but I want to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was definitely trying to have this conversation with them to say like, college is not going to be the end all be all in 5 years.
Absolutely. I think we've already, maybe sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was like talking to my husband, because we were starting to talk about having a family and I was like thinking that through about how like, oh wait, like saving for college for your kids is like so normal.
Yeah.
And I even like was thinking like, oh, I don't want, I want to be able to open that. Like even now I should have already opened, I could open that now and I could open that through their whole life. And then of course they can utilize it for any training they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to be open to the fact that traditional college and the way that I experience life won't be the way that they do.
Yeah.
And being cool with it. And I think it is important to have those conversations, because your boyfriend works a more traditional job.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just that he's not surrounded by the things that you are every day.
Yeah.
So how did that conversation go? Like, were they like totally agreeing or was it more of a pushback just because they work more traditional job?
Well, so I came to the conversation from the point of the knowledge industry. I had just heard the term, the knowledge industry. Isn't that what it's called?
You mean like educational courses and stuff?
Yeah.
That kind of thing?
I think that's what it's called. Or that's the term I had heard.
I haven't heard that term exactly, but I think educational knowledge, that all makes sense. You know, like communication and education is changing.
Yeah. So I had just started my business a couple months before I think I had this conversation. And I started seeing everybody have these online courses about how to do literally anything.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to learn in the world, it's in an educational course somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had taken a couple of them. And it was because I needed to learn more about branding, more about graphic design. And so we were, drinking beer or something one night. And we were just talking about, truly, I'm not even sure what we were talking about, but we started on this conversation. And I said, I don't think that jobs are going to be able to require a college degree soon because I don't think that people are going to need to go to college anymore, or at least fewer people are going to need to go to college to get a certain job.
Yeah, I think there will always be maybe some doctors.
Right.
Hopefully. We'll always have to go to school. But I completely agree.
And I think it also came from the fact that I have so much money or so much debt from student loans right now that
I was like, I like this phrase. I have so much money.
No, I don't have so much money.
But I have so much debt.
I have so much debt from college that came from a degree that I'm not using.
Absolutely. I do from 2 degrees I'm not using.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned everything online, for the businesses that I own now and how I feed myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it is crazy that we've gone through that so we can see it.
Yeah. So I think they were mostly just like, nah, everyone's always going to have to go to college and that's how you're going to get jobs. And I was like, you watch, you see.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think there are definitely some traditional jobs like we talked about, but I think it's massively changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for it because I never fit really well in school. I definitely struggled. Standardized tests, I fucking sucked.
I feel like I was a good test taker and I enjoyed school. I loved school up until grad school. And then I was just burnt out. I was like, I've already been in school for 20 years and you're telling me that I got a month off and I have to go back for 2 more years to do something I'm not even sure that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I was really good in school and I had all straight A's. I only had 1 B in high school and it was in geometry, which I literally used to make patterns. So it's just funny.
Yeah.
But basically one of the cheerleaders' moms taught it and only helped her friends. And it was a weird...
That's a weird situation.
Political, high school politics situation.
Yeah.
where she was like, I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. And I'm like, you're a regular mom. And can you just be my regular teacher? Like, I don't understand.
Need a teacher.
Yeah. Like, please help me.
I just need an A in this class.
Yeah. I need to keep my GPA at 4.0, and it was like 3.98. And I mean, I still remember that. That's actually what it was. Yeah. And in college, it was like a 3.9 something still. And I was really good, like, because I liked the control of like, and like perfectionism that you can get from that. But when I think back about like my experience doing those things, the things that I utilize today are not the things I learned in class, but the things about like jumping through hoops in order to be able to, like, that's what I definitely utilize that in entrepreneurship and being able to hold my tongue. Like, you know, with teachers just being total asshole teachers, professors and stuff at different times. And I was like, this, you know, not my circus, not my monkeys kind of thing. Not my monkeys. I love that phrase.
That's such a good TikTok sound.
It is such a good TikTok sound. And it resonates so deeply for me. And then being able to BS, like I could write a 10-page paper, like nobody's business, like let's go. And I'm not a great writer. You've seen me today. I was like, I'm not writing any of this down.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a procrastinator?
I don't know.
Okay. So Amanda knows this, but I was recently diagnosed with ADHD. And I've watched, you know, how you learn things from TikTok that you don't know how you didn't learn otherwise.
Absolutely. My whole life.
Yeah. So I follow, I don't know if I follow them, but I've stumbled across so many ADHD TikToks and just read more about ADHD. And so what I learned is that we are like lifelong good learners because our brains don't get bored with learning new things.
Yeah.
And it's because of the ADHD.
I see that. Since you've told me that and a few other people have told me things, like I reckon, I always kind of knew, I always thought I had dyslexia and I was never, I'm not a good reader.
Yeah. I'm
a really good listener. Like I can take in a lot of stuff, but I'm not a good reader. And when I didn't know how to answer the procrastinating comment or question was, sometimes I can do things so fast, but I think it's because I'm inspired to do them.
Because there's something motivating you to do it.
Exactly. And there are other things that I hate to do that I cannot make myself do. And that's when I hire people. I literally have a load in the laundry and in the washer right now. And you have to rewash it.
It's moldy.
Oh, I hate doing that to myself. And I hate it because it's just the worst. And then it smells for like 2 cycles of laundry, even though you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have some of that in my in my laundry right now. But I struggle, I think, mainly through the things that there's just some things that I know I'm not good at them, or I feel like inadequate and I don't always want to feel that way. So it's hard for me to start those. Yeah, exactly. Why would I?
Yeah. It's always the tasks that I dread doing that end up only taking like 10 minutes to do. And I'm like, Why did I wait 3 weeks to do that?
Yeah. And sometimes I just have to get myself to a place where I talk about this with Melissa, my money mindset coach, a lot of like, going from something that feels negative to going all the way to positive, feeling great about it, like doesn't usually happen. Yeah. So having that kind of bridge of getting to neutral first. And so if I can make especially like a cleaning task or something, I mean, I'm like clean, but I deep clean for like hours and get obsessive about it.
You're like hyper focused on it.
Absolutely. I do. And then like most of the time during the week, I'm like a little messy, but not bad. It
becomes a point where it becomes a critical, and then that's when you do it.
Then I'm willing
that is when I was like, I got the ADHD.
Yeah, I got it. It's funny because let me tell you this. My maiden name is Hines and my middle name is Dare. So Amanda Dare Hines, ADH. Oh. And then I got married and my husband's last name, now my last name is Darty. So I could have been ADD, which I am, or ADHD. And I'm like, either way, I'm hyper as fuck and I can't shut the fuck up. And that's why this podcast is so important for me. Yeah. It's getting all those juices flowing, all this information out into the world. But it's funny because as you brought it up and as you've like pointed out some things, like you're not the only one who's pointed out things around me. And I'm like hyper aware now of when I'm being a little, ADD or ADHD. I'm not actually sure the difference off the top of my head, but I want to be tested. And I believe that the result will not actually be that I had dyslexia, like I always thought I had. It'll be that I had ADD or ADHD, and like definitely will help me focus if I can, get some something to help me manage it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that by the end of this month, that's like on my list.
On your never-ending list.
On my never-ending list.
Mhm.
But I have like a little bit of a health list. I'm like, okay, I got this retainer out that didn't work. I'm getting an Invisalign retainer.
Yeah.
And then I got to get a tooth out, which sounds weird, but it's normal. Yeah, that's fine. It's in the back of my mouth. You'll never know.
No one knows.
No one knows. And how are they going to know?
Except for you now.
Except for everyone that listens. It's fine. I already have one missing and no one would know. So I have to get that done. And I wanted to get diagnosed with, not diagnosed. I want to be tested. Thank you.
Sure.
I want to be tested for that to like be able to point it out.
Yeah.
But speaking of ADD, like the whole conversation about how you decided to leave your full-time job and go into entrepreneurship, I feel like we were kind of at the precipice of that moment of deciding. And then we're like, let's talk about ADD because we both have it. It's fine.
Isn't that ironic though? But that's how we got there. Anyway.
It is, but it's so true and probably why we understand each other.
Yeah.
You know?
I tell stories from A to B to C to D to, and then people are like, can you get to the point? And I'm like, I'm going to get there.
Yeah, I'll get there.
You just got to give me more time.
I was like, I realize I don't actually finish all my thoughts.
Nope.
Most of the time.
Never.
Almost always. So I'm trying to do better with that for our listeners.
Yeah. So I was working full time as a speech therapist. I had my little side hustle design company going. And then I went to this networking event. I met Amanda and she was like, hey, I want to have a conversation. Like, I've seen your Instagram. I really like what you do. I like that you work with women-owned businesses, which is who I was trying to work with at the time. And I like your colors and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. Then you were like, I really need someone to fix my website yesterday. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Because you're working full time.
Yeah, I was working full time. I had like a couple clients and I was just, I always take on way more than I should, which is what I was doing at the time. And so I remember going to look at your website and I was like, this website's massive. There's so much stuff on this website.
It's so true.
And I was like,
It's comprehensive.
It is. Not in a bad way. It's just, there's a lot of stuff on there.
No, it was overwhelming to me and to our, customer. And I was like, I need this girl's help so bad.
And I just was like, there's no way that I can do all of these things. And I was like, I'm not saying no forever, but I need a little bit more time. And I'm hoping to quit my job soon. I just don't know when that'll be.
Yeah, we both knew it was like a bigger project than just your typical client.
Yeah.
Where you're doing a website and I'm like, oh, I need this like a little bit more long-term.
Yeah. And I think I'm trying to remember how we ended up connecting again. Oh, I think I had posted something and you were like, I still want to hire you. And I was like, okay. And so we met and you were like, I need this done and this done. And it still would have been, I was still working full time. I think this was like September.
Yeah. I think you started
I started full time.
Not full time, but like in your business full time in maybe October.
Yeah. And so we were talking and you were telling me what you needed. And still, even before I met with you, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, but I'm just going to take this meeting with her and I'm just going to see what she has to say because maybe this will give me the push I need. Because I was still like waiting for the perfect time to figure out when to quit my job. And I had written on my calendar that I was going to quit my job by the end of 2021. And so I was like, well, it's September. Like we're getting close to me wanting to do that. So I'm going to go to this meeting, see what she has to say. And I feel like you and I were both kind of like skirting around what each of us really needed.
Because I don't want to push you to something you're not.
Yeah.
And like I knew you were the person I wanted to work with, but I didn't want to make you feel like you couldn't say no.
Right.
I mean, that's so fucked up. I was like, no, but I also wanted you to know that if you really were heading that direction, I was ready to, financially step in and, put my money where my mouth was and make sure that, we were both comfortable. Like we did a lot of negotiating, which I was really proud of us for as well, because, there were certain things I had to do and certain things you had to do.
Yeah.
And we came to a great agreement, but it was definitely, you're right. We were skirting around.
Yeah. And so you and I met.
We should probably redefine that phrase, actually. I just realized skirting around, like skirts, girl. I don't even know where that phrase started. Oh. So I'm going to deep dive into that later because of my ADD that is undiagnosed.
Yeah, write that down in your notepad or something.
Oh, wait. We need to change skirting around.
Pantsing around. You're pantsing around the issue at hand. And so I was like, ideally, what do you need? And you were like, I just I need someone to like do all of it. And I was like, okay, well, what if, to myself, I was like, well, what if I go part-time? And you were like, I'm not here to like tell you, your business is your business. And if that's what you want to do, then I would love to like be the person to help you with that. I'm just, I just want someone to help me. And I know that it's you. So whenever that happens, it will happen. And so,
yeah, and I was like willing to wait till the new year for you to get there too, but it was so useful that you didn't wait because obviously holiday season in the gift shop, like I needed you way before the new year, but I was just like, I can't push this girl into something she doesn't want to do. So
I went home and I was like, talking to my parents and talking to my boyfriend. And I was already so far checked out of my job that I was like, I want to work with Amanda and I want to take this leap. But the logical part of my brain is like, no, you need stable income. Mm-hmm. And I've also come from a family who are not business owners or entrepreneurs. They've always had very typical jobs that pay them a certain amount to work a certain amount. And so...
so that's what they're telling you is like, are you sure? Because you need a stable income.
Right. Like, what about health insurance? And I was like, what about health insurance? That's a topic for another day. But, there's just all these things that society has made the norm. And that includes corporate life and corporate benefits and all that stuff. And but I was so checked out of it and I knew I wanted to quit eventually. And I was like, well, I could go part-time at the hospital and work for Amanda part-time and it'll, equal out to be a full-time income. And I can't even remember, or was I already planning?
I think you had a vacation and did they like say no or something?
Actually, I think I was already planning to go part-time.
I was
planning to go part-time.
You were, yeah.
And then, and I asked for...
I remember that.
I asked for a vacation and she's like, oh, I don't know if we can do that. And I was like, well...
The fuck you can?
I'm quitting.
Yeah.
And so I had just I gave them a month's notice to go part-time because, they would have had to hire I think it was different than quitting. Like I still wanted to be very respectful and I couldn't,
yeah, you still care. You're still a caring human being and you're loyal to the company, even though it's not what you want to do.
So I was already going to go part-time. And then I talked to you and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And everyone I had talked to, and this is coming from other entrepreneurs, were or are in the same boat as me at one point, who were saying, it's never going to be the perfect time. You're never going to be fully ready. You might be mentally ready, but like things are never going to work out exactly the way that you hope they're going to. And so I was like, I'm just going to quit. And I think I had only told her like 3 weeks previously that I was going part-time. And then I was like, hey, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
And
I remember you texting me that morning and be like, we're for sure moving forward with this, right? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we're still negotiating, but we're doing this.
Yeah. And
then you're like, okay, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And I was like, go for it.
And I was like, I'm talking to my CPA today. I'm talking to an insurance company. I'm quitting. And you were like, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first month was a little bit of a struggle, but I expected it to be because I didn't have like a full roster of clients. I was like almost there, but not quite there.
Yeah. You couldn't take on more because you were working.
Yeah. And so, but the first month was so I quit the beginning of October. And I kind of took the month just to like get my shit together basically and like streamline my processes and make sure my website was super clear and, really just think about the future of my business and treat it more as a business than I had been. And
I love that you did a lot of that work on your own business, your own side of it to communicate more clearly to clients as well, because like it's hard to do that for yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're doing that work for other people. And I'm just proud and excited for you that you did that for yourself. And it's so clear to me.
Yeah. And I still feel like, and we're all our toughest critics. I still feel like that's something I struggle with is working on my own ends of things instead of always putting like client work first. Yeah. I'm still figuring it out day to day. What is it? March now. So it's been 5 months since I went full time with my business, but I've enjoyed the process.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a long time coming. I just didn't know what was coming or when it would be. But I'm 1,000 times happier than I was at my corporate job.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. Like I said, it had its place and I learned a lot of skills that are relatable across industries.
Absolutely.
Because they're all people skills and how to communicate. And
And I had other jobs in between my businesses. Like I was a retail store manager, and learning those skills, you know, especially like you're talking about, like it's customer service, it's communication, like
problem solving.
Exactly. Like you have to remember, especially if you're somebody that's looking to leave your full-time job and go into entrepreneurship, it's not always that your resume has this, you know, these things on it and this. You need to look at your special skills on that resume. Like, what are those skills and what can you utilize to really create a limitless, you know, income opportunity for yourself? Like, I'm not a millionaire by any means. And I definitely, you know, I'm trying to scale the businesses to get to that point. But what can I like utilize today that will literally allow me to make, like, I don't have a cap. Like I could start making $1 million tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's so much more exciting and invigorating to not have a cap on your income. And know that you did have a cap in your full-time job.
Absolutely.
So looking at those special skills and also remembering, I love that somebody told me this one time. The last time that you are a student who is being paid to learn is when you have a job. So you're paying, even if you don't feel like these skills relate, they do. Speech therapist to graphic designer.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like
you're not going to think that those matter.
No, but it's all about communication.
Absolutely.
I was teaching kids how to communicate better. I was teaching adults how to communicate better after, you know, accidents or strokes or whatnot. And there's a lot of overlap that you wouldn't necessarily think about. I do think those skills have been, the skills I had to learn were the design skills. I had all the other skills.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, you now, like you said, you've taken other courses. So you've educated yourself on those other skill sets that you needed in order to create this business and this life that you're living right now. Whereas no one pays me to learn anymore.
Right.
So I try to help people that are like thinking about, you know, leaving their job, they're like upset or something like that. Remember that time in your life, you are being paid to learn. And of course, they're paying you for your skill set and your time and your focus and your, you know, your problem solving as well, but hone those skills. Hone those skills while you're being paid to do that in a controlled environment where you know how much you're going to make, you know, you're going to have, you know, a roof over your head or food on your table. Hone those skills. And like Madison did, like start to take on those additional things outside of your job. Start to take them on slowly and let it grow over time. As, you know, Casey Musgrave says, like, I'm all down for the slow burn. Like, let it happen as it works for you. And you'll find that pivotal like moment. Like I left my job, oh God, so long ago, I guess 7 years. I was like, how long was it? 7 years ago. I mean, I had been an entrepreneur a couple of times. I think this is my 6th business at this point. Some of them kind of meld together, so it's a little weird. But I was working in retail management. And there was a time where like a lot of the girls in the space I was in it was very cliquey. And eventually they would like all harp on one person until that person left. And it was such a struggle to like not want to be a part of that system or that clique of like, oh, if I don't join in on this fucking disgusting, like putting someone down, you know, mentality, then I'm going to be the one that they're all putting down. And so much of my life has been not leading from a place of like fear and leading from a place of understanding that people are not machines. And like, I've never turned down somebody who needed time off because I was denied time off. Like there's certain things that about the culture of a business that I've been trying to build for so long. And of course, it's not always going to be perfect, but that I'm leading, you know, a group of humans, you know, to do really cool, amazing things and to feel great about themselves and to learn. Like I put time and money into making sure the people around me are also feeling like, you know, they're growing, they're developing, and they are being paid to learn. So I want them to like hone those skills. And I never like, even Adrienne, that's like my ride or die, like 3 years we've been working together. Like I've encouraged her to start a second business so that she can make more money. I was like, I don't want you to be limited by what I'm able to provide to you. I want you to be able to also provide, you know, to yourself through her creative endeavors. And it's interesting because like now I'm able to sell her items in the store. I even give her a little bit better of a deal because like, obviously she's legit ride or die. And like, she's done so many things for me and been there for so many things, especially through this crazy pandemic, like she's the one employee that has stuck by my side and we've figured it out together.
Yeah.
Like she deserves the world for that. And she like means so much more to me because we went through those things together.
Right.
But I would never want her to feel limited, that I'm limiting her amount of money she's able to make because like I wouldn't allow her to do something else.
Yeah.
So now we like discuss, you know, SassCat Creative and everything and like trying to figure out all those additional things and ways that she can bring in money too.
Yeah.
So as she's working her full-time job that I just was able to give her health insurance for, literally, I think I talked about it on another episode, but I'm fucking proud of myself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I've been trying to do that. I want to be a great employer. And I've been trying to do that for a really long time. And it's like finally come to fruition. So I'm like, yay. Like,
I know, you're killing it.
I'm so excited. That's such a like fun, I don't know. It's like those traditional things that you want to have in your life. I don't want her to be married with a house and, you know, now 30 without health insurance too. And like, it was more expensive to like go through her now husband's company. And I was like, let's not do this. Let's get you better health insurance. Like we can figure it out. So we finally did. And I'm just like more proud of that than most of the other things. I'm just like, we're finally taking this step and it's amazing. But yeah, it's just been kind of interesting of the things that you bring in, you know, you're kind of creating your own culture now. So you've like, you're going to deal with some difficult clients sometimes. You're going to have to decide how it's still like a culture of a business and how you operate, even being like a solopreneur.
Yeah. So
how do you like feel about like have you thought about that culture and how you operate at all yet? Or are you like starting to develop that?
Yeah. So I hope to be able to hire someone maybe in the next year. I don't feel like I'm mentally ready to do that. Like
it does take a lot to start to really be prepared for that.
I still feel like I'm managing myself and I don't have I know it's never going to be perfect, but I just am not mentally there yet. But I would like to do that because I want to grow and I want to scale. And I think, you know, I'm on LinkedIn and I get on there sometimes and like read all these posts. And there's been so many posts about company culture and things like that. And it's something that's been really interesting to consider because, you know, I went from working in healthcare where nobody gets paid enough in healthcare, except for the CEOs and the people at the top. And no matter how much you do and how loyal you are to a company, they're going to replace you the moment you quit because it's all about the bottom line for them. And while I do feel like for the most part, my immediate management was typically very understanding and we had a great relationship and I really enjoyed the women that I worked with in my own department. There were just so many things that I wished I could have changed, but it was never going to change. I think it's especially true for healthcare. Like
it's like changing the whole system, not just your environment within it.
And I would really like to, you know, if I tomorrow got a really amazing job opportunity for a corporate job and it had the right company culture and it had the right pay, I would take it. I'm not against ever going back to a corporate job, but
yeah, I think that's important to be open.
Yeah, I just think that the culture is so important. And I think I want it to be flexible. And like you said, I'm going to be working with humans and I want humans to feel like they can take time off if they need time off or if they just want time off and they don't need to give me a reason for wanting to take time off. And if people are performing well, then those people deserve a raise or a promotion or whatever it is. I don't ever want my business, especially as I scale and when I start to have employees, I don't want it to feel like something someone's going to feel stuck in or that they aren't going to be able to like grow or move past. And I just kind of like you do, you know, if a better opportunity comes along for an employee of yours, you will do everything to support that employee to help them get there. And that's
I write really good recommendation letters. Yeah. People are still working for me.
Yeah. And I just think that it's just more of what like,
you can't be like everybody's end of the, you know, journey. Like I'm the middle of their journey. I view myself and my companies that way.
Right. And I want it to be company culture where everyone can grow and not just me.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And I think, you know, adding in those aspects to how you're operating even now and how you treat yourself as an employee of your business, how you treat yourself.
Yeah.
And the things that you know, put in place to respect yourself and to respect your business and like holding boundaries will only help you to like move forward in that situation because you'll have dealt with those situations and you're like, oh yeah, this is how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
You know, if my future employee has to deal with something, I'm able to make sure that, you know, we have experienced that before and now we know how to handle it as our company, as a brand. How does the brand handle it?
Yeah.
You know, because it's not as personal as it needs to be. And it's so hard because like we are individuals and humans running businesses, but there are a lot of things that just, they don't need to make it like mean something bigger about yourself or bigger about, you know, the world. It just needs to just, you know, be neutral.
Yeah.
It needs to just sit in the middle.
Right.
It's all good moving forward.
Yeah.
I do have a question before we kind of wrap up is like, you were saying in October that, you know, you were getting started, figuring yourself out. Like, how do you feel like November went? Like after the initial shock, I'm like, you know, not shock, that's probably not the right word, but maybe a little bit is like, you know, of like being full-time within your business. How do you feel like November, December, like how, now that you're 5 months out, how is your progression of your like mental health around it? And like, even how you manage your money within your business, like how has that developed for you like through time?
So I think for the most part, except for maybe December, for the most part, I've made more money each month than I did the previous month. So after October, I took my time to get my shit together. November ended up being the month that I made more money in my business than I did in a month working for the hospital. And so that was kind of a cool realization that I'm the one who is in control of my money. I mean, I have to have paying clients, but like I'm the one who can go out there and get the clients and I'm the one who can charge X, Y, and Z for my services and not be dependent on somebody else for how much I get paid.
That's a great realization.
Yeah.
And 2 months in.
Yeah.
Like amazing.
I know it was very unexpected. And last month, so February was actually the month that I made double what I was making in a month at my hospital job. But I will say I spent so much money last month on just like, I made the most money, but I spent the most money. And it wasn't even on things that I necessarily wanted. Like life just got really expensive last month for some reason. But I feel like, I mean, there's still times where I struggle with time management. And I think that's something I'm always going to kind of have to work at because of the way my brain is wired. It's always going to be a constant learning experience. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely still working on like time management and organization and all that stuff, but I just feel so much lighter than I did working at the hospital, even though some days are stressful and I have had clients who kind of sucked. I'm more in control and I can choose to continue to take those clients. I can choose not to take those projects and I can work when I want. I mean, I have a difficult time with time management. Sometimes I work until midnight just because I didn't get started until like 3 p.m.
Yeah, but I think that's also the beauty of it is that as people, me undiagnosed, ADHD and you now diagnosed, it's not really that we need freedom, you know, like we do enjoy structure as entrepreneurs. Yeah. It's that we need flexibility and what's, you know, just been, my husband said something really beautiful to me a long time ago that he continues to say is like, if I'm having a really creative moment and I'm in a flow and we were supposed to go do something or whatever, even if I was just supposed to be home for dinner or whatever, I'm just like, hey, I'm feeling really creative right now. Like I'm going to keep running with this. And he just says, ride the wave. Yeah. He always tells me ride the wave because he knows me and he knows how I operate. And I do get obsessed about things like my Sunday cleaning routine. Like if I have to do other things on a Sunday, I'm like, nah, now my whole week's messed up. Yeah. But like, there's definitely the ride the wave of, you know, your schedule, your creativity, it doesn't really matter when you work. Right. Which is beautiful. Yeah. Because you can work when you're most creative and when you're feeling that and you're in your own flow. Yeah. And a lot of times why I also, because I mean, we're working together on both my companies and there's a lot to do. Yeah. And I always like, before we like really started working together, I was like, am I going to have enough for her to do? And I'm like, oh, there's always something to do. There's so fucking much. And now that we've done even some of the like basics, I would say, and that's downplaying it completely, but I mean like the big projects. Yeah. There's all these extra little things. And I'm like, oh, that would be so great. I've wanted to do that for years and I never did it. And now I have the opportunity to have Madison like working on those things or creating these new products or creating this print or even just like making a little sign for the store. That's not a fucking Post-it note that says back in 5 minutes. Yeah, that's poorly written. I'm just like, you guys, we got to do something. Like it's all got to be branded. And like, now everything I do can be because I've hired you.
Because of me.
Because of you.
It's a Kelly Clarkson. Is that Kelly Clarkson?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Kelly Clarkson song.
Yeah, totally. It's because of you. And I was like I said, I was like willing to wait for you.
Yeah.
I was like, this is going to be it. This is the relationship. And it was just this gut feeling.
It's definitely crazy because in that, I don't know, however many months it was that between the first time we met and when we met for the second time to like actually discuss a career relationship, I think you definitely believed in me way more than I did in myself at that time. And you were like, I'm willing to wait for you. I know you're the person that wants to do it. And I got home and I was like, why does she want me to do it?
She's met me twice. Who is this bitch?
Like, how does she know that I'm reliable? It's just
like intuition, I think. Yeah. But the point I want to make is that I've been able to give you lots of projects.
Oh, yeah.
And I keep telling you, like, when you're feeling creative on this kind of project, that's when I want you to work on that kind of project. Like, I think when people, they try to control creative people so often where, sometimes I need something, on the fly or whatever, of course. But it's just so much more interesting to me that I'm able to now understand your brain. Like I understand your brain a little bit and I just have a different skill set within my business and my creativity with like making dresses. Like, I don't think that you are interested in that. And I'm like, I can't draw a stick figure. Like literally today we were drawing on the whiteboard to like create something amazing and new. And I was like, this is a book. And I had to like write book next to my little picture because I can't draw a stick figure. But like, I knew that was something I needed to hire out. And I knew that I could understand how your brain worked and that you would be able to see how my brain works. Yeah. And I can literally tell you like, hey, I want this phrase. And you come back to me with this amazing creative thing. And I'm just like, fuck yes. Like, hell yes. We finally figured it out. Yeah. And it's a really great working relationship. I've been very happy. Me too. With it. And it was a big investment for me. And I explained that to you as well. And I think, the fact that I was finally able to make that big investment and able to, even just the fact that I could communicate that to you, that, like we both take it seriously. Yeah. And I like hiring people that own their own companies because you take it fucking seriously. Like, I know it's pretty, pink, sassy, and like bold and stuff, but like it's fucking serious. Yeah. And I'm not messing around here. I ain't messing around. No. Like, it's just not how. I got bills to pay. Exactly, girl. We got so many bills to pay. I got so many bills. So many bills. Well, more than anything, I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast and really explaining, kind of those moments of moving from working full-time into your own entrepreneurship role. And obviously, I think all of you should go hire Madison. I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. Madison, can you explain to them like where they can find you, how they can follow you? Yeah. So how they can hire you. How you can hire me. So all of my social media platforms are at Madkind Design. And my website is madkinddesign.com as well. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. All the things. All the things. With one Madkind Design. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so excited. I mean, mine have had to be like all different. Because that's okay. It's okay. We'll get through it. Freaking go, daddy. You guys found me. If you're here, you found me. Yeah. And exactly. I can link you to all the other cool places to go. Yeah. Yeah. Well, just thank you so much. And again, I'm just so happy to have you in my life. And I'm so happy that all the crazy creative things don't seem as crazy to you. You know? Yeah. I'm happy to be here. In my brain, you just make them happen. It's great. Yeah. It's so seamless. It's so fun. So fun. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye. If you want to put more money into the wallets of women like we do, then check out our website, thewomanownedwallet.com. And we can't wait to continue the conversation on our social media. So definitely follow us on our Instagram @womanowned.wallet and on TikTok @womanownedwallet. You can support us by following our podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. And don't forget to leave us a review. Thank you for listening to Woman Owned Wallet, the podcast.